Good morning and welcome to the Laws of Physical Health, hosted by incredible chiropractor Dr. David Lipman. Good morning, Dr. David. What is
Good
up
morning.
this morning?
I'm doing great as usual, Blanca. Thanks again for having me here. Very excited today to take this next step and bring some more educational pieces to people that are suffering from low back pain and giving them the things that they can do to help really manage this and take care of it on their own. So thanks again for this opportunity.
It is my honor. So, what are the laws of physical health you're going to be teaching us today?
So I want to build on what we've gone with so far. Again, just to reiterate from the first show, where you're feeling pain is not where it's coming from, it's where it's ending up. And that's because the second law is that the body functions together and it dysfunctions together. And so this segment is going to kind of take that and expand on it, the way the body functions and dysfunctions together. And we're going to add some more exercises that we had started to build on last week. And so taking the idea that the body, again, is one interactive machine is going to be important for the individual to understand of why we're going to be doing what we're doing in order to help correct the dysfunction that happens. One of the things that, especially these days when, we hear the word pain management or the words pain management, to me, it really kind of takes away from really what the idea should be, because I don't treat pain. I'm not managing pain. I am treating and giving people the ability to correct the dysfunction that causes pain. So when that is the focus, that becomes more of a process of correction versus the idea and mentality of pain management. Because to me, that sounds like, okay, you're going to have pain. How do we deal with the pain and live with the pain? That's not the message I'm trying to get across. I'm trying to get a message of resolution across, which again, through this process is going to give people the ability to kind of take control of those things and be able to make those corrections as necessary.
Fantastic. To be the ability to have that discipline is very important, and the education that you're providing lets people do this on their own too, and get to know you as well as a doctor. So what's the first exercise you have in mind?
Well, again, before we pull that up, I wanted to just kind of start to build the picture in somebody's mind of understanding the anatomy and the machine that they're walking around in. And there's something in the spine that's called coupled movements. And coupled movements means that when our individual spinal segments move, they move in tandem together in different directions, such as flexion or extension or rotation or lateral bending. So these are movements that we have to, on a regular basis, continue to do to maintain and support those functions. Because especially when we're sitting all day long, we're all in this forward plane. Very little are we doing things like this or even rotating. And like the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that is definitely applicable here, because if you stop doing certain movements, your brain stops allocating resources control-wise to those movements. And then all of a sudden, a typical thing that happens, you get somebody that is sitting all week, and then all of a sudden they go out to the golf course on the weekend and they're asking their body to do this when they haven't done that all week. So again, trying to understand how on a daily basis we have to maintain the mobility and stability and functions of all of our movements in order to maintain that musculoskeletal health and not get to that pain syndrome. So one of the exercises that I really want to focus on today is called torso rotation. So if you can just cue that torso rotation pick. And the idea is that you're going to use a resistive movement with a band or a cable, and you're going to rotate to each side from left to right and from right to left. And I find the best way to do it is to actually alternate. So in the video, you'll see that to execute this now in the torso video, you're actually alternating left and right. And if you could just repeat that again, because I find, especially with golfers, golf is always like one direction constantly, repeated again and again. So that creates an imbalance in the body. So by alternating those movements side to side, stepping into a rotation to the right, stepping into a rotation to the left, that gets the body used to controlling those movements and those ranges, and it helps to reestablish them if somebody's lost it over time. So that torso rotation is one of the key staples I give to people after we've taught them those stretches to loosen up the hip flexors and the hip rotators and the glutes, and then to start firing the glutes again. Again, it's all getting the mobility and stability and function back all through these areas. Now, there's a second exercise which I really like, and it's called the reverse hyperextension. Many people might have seen the hyperextension in the gym on a machine called the Roman chair. And what you can see here is that we've reversed that, because instead of with the Roman chair, where the individual is kind of stabilizing here in their legs and their pelvis, they're leaning forward, hinging at their hips and coming back up. In this case, you're going to see the next video that you're reversing that. So now you're going to stabilize the torso, and you're going to be bringing the legs up and down from behind. So if you can cue that reverse hyperextension video, that's going to show and demonstrate. And you want to stabilize. Can you keep that on?
Yeah, let's take a quick look at the video and then we'll continue.
You're actually getting the lower back now to initiate the movement, whereas in a typical hyperextension, the low back doesn't really kick in till the very end. So it's heavier on the hamstrings and the glutes, which is good. But I like to reverse that, because now you're going from the lower back to the glutes to the hamstrings, which helps to build a lot more stability and function back there. And these are your postural muscles that have to be firing all day to keep you upright. So these two exercises I find are really, really good to be able to get the mobility and the stability and strength in that lower back region. So these are things that I do every day without fail myself. And these are exercises that I give to my patients, during our treatment process, and as we go through the process of getting resolution back, to their pain syndrome, again, through the dysfunction that's causing it. What do you think of that?
I love it. I love how you're demonstrating the exercises and you're sharing how important how important this is. Because if we don't take care of our bodies and do these exercises, we're going to be in trouble. Right.
So it's again, understanding that each one of us have stressors, physical stressors that act on us every day. And, what those stressors are will depend on what our tasks are. As an example, and I've used this before, when people have certain occupations, they tend to be repetitive in certain patterns, but not all patterns. So if you're a dental hygienist or a dentist, perhaps, you're always kind of bent over, twisting and bending to that side. So I treat a lot of people in those industries, and I see the same patterns of dysfunction that I'm able to not only help, reverse that, but give them what they need to undo that. Hairstylists, again, they tend to be working with their arms up, their shoulders getting tight. And so those are also common patterns. Law enforcement, I have a lot of men and women on the job that, because their computer console is in the center of the seat, they're having to spend a lot of time rotated to the right, typing on the computer, which is causing tension up in this area as well as the lower back, because again, it's constantly being in that repeated pattern. So those muscles tend to shorten, and that throws off, the proper mechanics of weight bearing and motion. And it just takes something as simple as like bending over to put a sock on, and then all of a sudden you can't straighten up. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that was the reason for somebody coming in. And the point is, it's not so difficult to bend over and put on your sock. The problem is that when you start to lose those proper mechanics of spinal mobility, stability, and function, then a simple act like bending on, over to put your sock on becomes a real chore.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, the simplest tasks can become very difficult when you don't have that inherent flexibility. But I think the combination of the exercise with the therapy, with the treatment by you, is really the ultimate combination, because we can't do what you can do as a doctor. Is that right?
That's true. And again, depending on the situation, sometimes taking some of these exercises and just put it into the routine that your daily routine, and make it as, as routine as anything else that you do on a regular basis. This helps to at least provide a method to countermeasure against the way that these imbalances, form day to day. Most people that come into the office, as an example, aren't in pain because of a single incident like a fall or a car accident. It's usually the things that build up daily that they're unaware of until they become aware of it, either with one particular movement, some simple everyday movement that throws them out, or it's just that the pain starts to develop and it just kind of gets worse and worse. So that's why it's so important to have a process every day to unwrap those tensions and those imbalances that form. Now, I've actually been working on, and part of this series, I'm going to offer through this webcast some products that I have found to be very effective at home to help self-release a lot of these tensions when the stretches themselves are not enough, because sometimes there's just too much tension that's built up and the people are just unable to really even get into those areas yet to be able to stretch them. But instead, some of these products I found, you can actually self-release some of the tensions that build up, so you can start to get into those exercises more safely and effectively. And so again, my goal here is to try to provide the kind of insight and education that somebody who may never step into my office, would be able to do. Now, that being said, too, I've had, because I'm in South Florida, I think, the opportunity to refer patients that have been here, that have taken some of the methods and had seen great success, and find a doctor in their area, because a lot of people are transient here. They're either snowbirds, or they might be visiting on vacation, or kids that are going away to college that I had seen as teenagers. And I have some resources that I can find doctors in other states that might be local to where they are at home, and be able to get them to continue some of the needed treatment with some of the more advanced techniques like we use here. There's a very traditional chiropractic type of practice, which for me, after 35 years, I find to be, more one-dimensional, as opposed to some of these more advanced techniques that really become much more integrated and create a much more effective resolution to issues. So I'm not knocking chiropractic, I'm a chiropractor, but there are things that can be done and integrated into practice and into a process here that can be helpful. So also, when people are looking for some of these resources, I want them to feel free to reach out to me, because I can provide them, based on their zip code and such.
Oh, that's incredible. I like the direction that you're taking, because basically, I think now with this pandemic, everyone is realizing that we're all connected. It doesn't matter where we live in the world, because you're basically providing the laws of physical evidence worldwide. That's your vision.
Yeah. And it's great because of this kind of platform and the ability to bring media and to really demonstrate, because most of these things are dynamic, and you need to have a dynamic method to be able to really give people a chance to visualize them. So like here in the office, we always create videos for my patients to make sure that they're clear on the homework assignments, on the subtleties of the movement, and make sure we give them those keys and be able to replicate it at home and understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. So I'd like to still be able to do that here, which is great, because not only do we have the live version, but we have the on-demand that can be continually seen again and again, and be able to really instill those important nuances sometimes when it comes to the movements that are required to, again, keep everything moving properly. Most problems that engage pain and create pain, they're mechanical problems. They're not structural. There's some structural sometimes, but the majority of the time that people come in here, they're mechanical problems. So you need a mechanical solution, and that's really the key to it all.
Wow, that is so powerful. I love it. And Dr. Lipman's website is physicalevidencechiropractic.com. It is a phenomenal, detailed website, jam-packed with resources to educate you about more laws of physical health. You can also call Dr. Lipman's office at 561-674-1217. You're also doing virtual consultations. And so really everybody in the world can be a part of Dr. Lipman's world and learn about your laws of physical health. And thank you. We really learned a lot from you today. We really appreciate it. you.
It's my pleasure. And I just want to shout out to Cheryl, because she just messaged that she's, seeing the point of how, because they're sitting in front of their computers all day, what that does. So Cheryl, right on. So common, more now than ever. I'm fortunate that I'm on my feet most of the day, because otherwise I'd be in that same situation. It would just be, paramount for me to continue to keep myself mobile and flexible and all that for my task. But I have to do that for the fact that I'm on my feet all day and I'm bending over and picking people up. So I have to be strong. And much of my training actually involves the exact movements that I do every day at work. So it reduces the chance that I'm going to hurt myself. So it's the same kind of idea. But thank you for your comment. Blanca, thanks again for the ability to be here and to be able to, bring this education to people all over.
No, it's phenomenal. I love your laws. They're so powerful. You're really leading the community to learn so much about how we can lead healthier, more balanced lives. Dr. David Lipman, everybody give him some Facebook love, reach out to him. And thank you so much for watching. We'll be back every Thursday at 11 o'clock. See you all next week.
See you next week.
All
Thank
right.
you.